Hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Astrid and this is Self-Made Aesthetic. All right, so we've talked about how to draw people in, but have you ever wondered why some people like leave the room feeling better and sometimes it's less than? Okay, so just because they're in it, like nobody has to say anything and you just automatically feel that kind of like va va voom per se. Okay, well, today we're gonna be, so if you see me looking here, my notebook is here. Here, my mirror is here, and I'm gonna be doing my nighttime routine. So I just got home. I went to, I live in Cali, and so I went to a music festival, and it was hot. It was hot. Like my hair was so dirty. I felt like I was laying on the floor, like on the ground. But yeah, if you see me looking over here, my mirror is right there. Like I wish my mirror were right here. um, so yeah, today we're pretty much going to we're going to be looking into the part of cultivating that brand for yourself, that aspect, that radiant presence that pretty much comes from within, right? And then you cultivate that, and this ensures pretty much your energy that doesn't capture attention. It just leaves a lasting impression. Okay, so there's going to be 5 key points that we're going to be touching bases on, and if you want to if you want to follow along, you can. If you want to skip ahead to maybe a topic that may be interesting to you, you can do that as well. But we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So let's see. So for the first one is like the difference between presence and performance, right? Presence, it's pretty much like the true radiance, the true radiance isn't a persona that you wear per se. It's a practice of being fully grounded and being fully aware of yourself, and present in your own body, basically. And rather than performing for an audience, you pretty much know what you want to bring to the table. You already know, right? And in this case, you cultivate that. You are dead set on an intention that we spoke about earlier in episode 2, where you read the room. You already know what you bring to the room. You already know exactly like what you want people to come in for. Like you don't even come in at you for, and you don't even have to talk to anybody. I mean, I guarantee people are going to be talking to you and they're going to be coming up to you and it's going to be great. And so what I'm saying is that when you're cultivating that type of presence, it's just a knowing. It's like being sure that you already know what people are going to be talking about. It's basically being like 10 steps ahead. It's the law of attraction, law of assumption. Those are some of the ones that I looked into and I delved deep. I used to kind of be really nervous to walk into a room, and especially when I was like at a job, which was like high risk, high management job. It was for like a big company and I was in leadership. And of course I had charisma, like my riz was all there, but my aura was not 1,000%. Like now it is. I don't care. Like I'll whether I walk into like a porta potty or I walk into like a university like course that has like hundreds of alumni, it's the same vibe that I'm gonna give off of, because I'm dead set on what I want to present, because I know facts, because it's just like not being sure of yourself, but just being persistent and knowing your presence and knowing what you bring to the table. The table is like, you bring your energy. You don't have to bring anything but yourself. That's who you are. That's your presence, okay? We got number 2. Okay, so then it's pretty much the physics of personal frequency. I stumbled upon these types of frequencies by accident. I was trying to go to sleep, and I had like a big exam that was coming up, and I couldn't go to sleep, and I was like having so much trouble like going to sleep, and all of a sudden I was like, man, like what am I gonna do? How am I gonna go to sleep? I have this big exam tomorrow. So I was like typing up in my phone, I was looking up on here on basically on YouTube, and it's just like the 52 frequencies, like, which is hertz. It's at a certain decibel vibration, and then there's also a 639, and there's videos down below if you want to go ahead and check those two out. I recommend that you do your research, because there's some videos that when they upload the file into YouTube, they're compressed. So when that happens, pretty much the frequency and the sounds, you can't really listen to them. So you're just listening to like ambient noise. And you probably get that like placebo effect. Okay. So I suggest doing your research. I did mine. It took me a long time, but like I just so happened to get like really, really lucky. I alchemized it. And so I came with these frequencies. And so you resonate with these on your daily energy, basically. So the thoughts you hold and the way that you carry yourself basically acts as a signal that dictates how others perceive your light. So however you think about yourself, you're going to be mirrored that into the 3D. And I learned that the hard way. So when I was a kid, like I was young and dumb or whatever, but I had the best like charisma ever. Like I just brought that energy, and when I got around certain people, they would like dim my light, so I would have to dim my light to fit in. I don't know if you heard of that before, but that essentially happened. So it's kind of like, have you ever heard of the phrase, show me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are? So it's kind of like that. And I was pretty low vibrational. I was wondering like why there was so much like chaos happening. And the thing is because the interference of energy that was so different was so relatable to like the group of people I was with or who I was in a relationship with, that I just found it out that it was just relatable. So I just tuned into that type of frequency, and from then on I basically just started to perceive my life as their life, like how their instances were, how their experiences were, how their reactions were to life. And that was not the best, because I felt so out of place. I felt even more lonely when I had a big group of people around me than I do now. I mean, I still have friends, but they're like really, really like close-knit friends. And it's just like it's easy for you to distinguish who you want to give your energy to, you know what I mean? And you can't just be cultivating all this energy for people, and then whether they come back in your life or not, it's kind of like, I did that one time. I tried to go back to like some friends after I just dropped them for no reason, and it was the reason because of their energy. We weren't at the same frequency. Everybody is different, and there's like no like bad vibes on anybody. But for me, when it's the physics of a personal frequency, that's when I had to find my own, because that's what made me turn into this type of like people pleaser. And I was just depleting myself of an energy, and I was just like working twice as hard as the people around me. So yeah, there's number 3. So number 3, it's pretty much it ties into with 2, alchemizing your internal state, right? I was surrounded by a lot of people back then, and I really didn't like hearing my inner thoughts or doing any type of work or seeing how I could cultivate myself. So instead of trying to like manifest, focus on the alchemy of pretty much transmuting your internal stresses and heavy emotions into basically like calm, elevated frequency, right? And it's super easy. It's easier than manifesting. So when there's two different vibrations, right? And then it'll just, other than that, everything else just comes naturally. So we're leaning back. So we have manifestations and alchemy. There's whichever way you like to see it. So how I experienced it is basically manifestation. You request something, you ask for something, and you just wait for that type of energy to circle back around, and come into your vibration. Whereas alchemization, you do the work. So not only are you in your masculine energy, but also you're in your feminine. So masculine is taking energy and taking action towards a certain pretty much, how can I say, a certain task that you want, or something that you may have your eyes set on, that certain outcome. And then once you have that, you just let it go, pretty much. And once that happens, in this case, you are in your feminine energy where you allow yourself to receive that. You already feel that you're in that type of vibration. You want to envision yourself that you already have what you wanted. You know what I mean? So how would you feel if you had like an ice cream, right? That's a perfect example. How would you feel? It'd feel nice. It'd feel like nostalgia, your favorite ice cream. It'd feel chill, especially right now in this hot summer nights, so you get those feelings. You start to feel those feelings, and pretty soon, sooner than later, I guarantee somehow, it doesn't even matter how, the how is taken out of the equation for me. I don't care how I'm going to receive it. I know that that's for me. So when that happens, alchemization is more that you're more in control of your presence, of what happens, rather than just waiting and just letting go and just asking for it, right? And if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. But when it comes to alchemization, that's when you're set, because you're taking accountability and responsibility for something that you may want, that you're calling into your life. So I love that. That's something that I like, that really helped me. And pretty much that's the difference. With manifestation, I felt like I was always on edge. It worked for me, a few times, actually, journaling, manifesting, affirmations, whatever. Whereas, alchemization, turning energy around and cultivating that, using that type of frequency, when you just feel inside, and you turn that around. And that's what you can do when your presence is there, right? When you feel it, when you own it, you own that type of frequency. Yes, I'm charismatic. Yes, everybody loves to talk to me. I'm the pillar of guidance. Everybody looks at me. Yes, I'm beautiful. I'm bold. I'm tall. I radiate this energy, this Aphrodite energy. So it's just when I'm going into that type of frequency, I get so happy because it's true, because I feel that it's true, because I start vibrating into that frequency. So yeah, we have number 4. So number 4 is pretty much body language as a vessel for light, basically. So what do I mean by this? So basically it's, I don't know, this is kind of big. It's your posture, your eye contact. I've been told I have siren eyes, or, sometimes it differentiates, I guess, from whatever eyelashes that I use. Even your breathing, as it serves the physical vessel to your presence, right? And then, when you hold space, and with intention, your aesthetic pretty much becomes an extension of your soul. Okay, so what do I mean by this? If you believe it, then you see it. A lot of the times I used to think that it was the opposite, and I think I put way too much lotion on. Okay, but when you believe it, you don't have to see that. That's why you're calling in that type of energy. You're calling in that type of frequency into your 3D. it's like, I don't know if you heard, like, as above, so below, as within, so without. So it's all that 369 method. And the frequency, also those vibrations. That might help you too. I'll put that video down below. But yeah, so when it comes to that, you know, you have to do that inner work for yourself. You have to face anything that you may not be wanting to work on. Because if you are hiding that and you are out in the public and you start talking to like all these people, they're going to start noticing your flaws, because eventually masks always come down. And how I discovered that is that I was boasting about a lot of things, you know, that they were true, but at the end of the day, I was still very kind of like people pleasing. I was trying to please people. I was putting myself in situations where people may like to be around me, or where people, you know, can gravitate towards me, and that wasn't the case. A lot of the times they would be like, well, it's just we didn't vibe. And essentially I knew that I knew that it wasn't like the best thing for me, and I just, you know, I fell off the face of the planet. So there's that. Lastly, we have number 5. So basically number 5 here is where it comes into the notion where authenticity as the ultimate aesthetic, right? You want to put yourself in the highest regards that you can. Instead of, you know, people pleasing, you want to please yourself. How would you like to be treated? How would you like to be wine and dine and pampered? And how would you like, you know, to be around like men or even women, right? Being cordial to you, being respectful, you know, so it's stuff like that, etc., etc. So the most magnetic thing you can possess basically is the refusal to shrink yourself. Like I said earlier, don't dim to fit in. Ever. Don't ever do that. Trust me, it sucks. Don't shrink yourself ever. If you feel like something's not right, you feel it in your gut, it's not right. So because when you're finally comfortable in your own skin and in your essence, your radiance becomes impossible to ignore, because you have cultivated this type of energy and frequency that you are the person that you want to follow. You are the individual that you want to see lead, essentially. So that's what I'm saying. Like, when it comes to that, like, I just essentially, like I said, there's a fine line between being sure of yourself and actually knowing and feeling it. And when it comes to that, that's when I essentially like want to tell myself, or I do tell myself, like, hey, you got this, instead of like, oh my gosh, do I have this? See how it's different? It's a very subtle change, but it's so different at the same time. And with that being said, I want you to think about how others perceive you, how you would like yourself. Let's say if you have an outer body experience, I know, right? Crazy. And you actually are talking to yourself, how would you perceive yourself? You know, if you have like all these doubts, if you have all these kind of how can I say, if you have all these like judgments or like criticism, or I don't like myself, or this and that, I wish I could do this, I wish I could be that, I wish I could say this, then you really got to start working at those aspects and talk to yourself and say, hey, how can we work through this? Like, how can we stay more sustainable within ourselves? So once you rely on yourself solely, even if you have a partner, even if you have kids, with your family, you have close friends, whatever it may be, babe, at the end of the day, you're going to have yourself. You can only count on yourself. You give yourself that accountability and responsibility. It doesn't freaking matter. You can't control anybody but yourself. And I learned that the hard way. And so, yeah, basically. So if you made it this far, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So yeah, let me know down below if you checked out the videos or if you want to check out more videos on a self-made aesthetic. This is episode 3, so stay tuned for episode 4, okay? I will see you in the next one. Bye.